But thank you everyone for joining us for this week's Thursday 30. Today's topic that you've signed up to watch is iOS accessibility features on the iPad, and it's for users with physical, visual, and hearing impairment. And our guest speaker today is Daniel Cooper. Dan is a speech and language therapist for Whittington Health NHS, and he's based at Richard Clousley School. If you do have any questions for Dan, please type them in the chat, and hopefully there'll be time that he'll answer the questions at the end of the session. And if not, he's kindly going to share his email address so he can follow up with those if we don't have time today. So I'm thrilled to introduce Dan. I'll turn it over to you, Dan, and good luck with the tech.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Teresa. And I know we talked beforehand. I did say I could stick around a bit if people wanted to, but I don't know what your availability is either. So I realize you're hosting this whole meeting. But if there are some urgent questions that people want to ask, and while they've got me on the line, I've got some time afterwards as well. All right, but you're right. We really must fly through this. As you can imagine, it's quite a loaded topic. So there's lots to share. Like I said, working at Richard Clousley School for ages. Richard Clousley School is a school of a population from 2 to 19-year-olds. There's a primary, secondary, and there's usually the kids have some sort of a physical disability that goes along with that. Though we're starting to expand out and seeing a range of abilities that are beyond physical. So we're still learning and improving our practice. Today, we're going to be looking, go back. Come on. There we go. We're going to focus on Apple's focus on accessibility. We're going to talk about setting up an accessibility shortcut on your iPad, which is critical, I think. I think it's the most important thing. But then we're also going to find where you can find these iOS accessibility features, whether it's physical, vision, or hearing impairments. And then we're going to go through some of those features quite briefly, I'm afraid. But hopefully I'm giving you the tools to be able to find them when you have some self-study time. Okay. So ever since its launch with the iPhone, really, Apple have consistently shown a focus on making their products accessible for a variety of needs. And it seems like every year brings new access solutions, innovations, and improvements for the iOS. It used to be that assistive technology solutions were really only through Windows products, PC products. And in some cases, those solutions are still the best solutions. Windows has been working on that software for ages. And so some of those tools are really the best on the market. But it seems like you often have to buy a specialized software or hardware. And what Apple has done is it's sort of focused on the accessibility from the ground up and showing that it's not it's its priority and not just an afterthought. And so we'll see that these things are built into the operating system, these accessibility features. So how they've done this, they've integrated accessibility to the core design philosophy. So they're continuously enhancing features that support diverse user needs. Their products provide built-in options that empower users to customize their own experience. So the customization is really, really quite significant and in-depth. It's almost gotten to the point where there are too many features, in my opinion, just because it's so easy to get into the minutia of the settings. But we're going to dive in there a bit anyway. So let's have a go. There are so many accessibility features on iOS that it won't be possible to look at it all, but I picked out a couple of them. It's better to know really where to find out where all these features are and what's out there. So there's loads of tutorials I'm sure you'll see online. And one website that I like to go to is the In-Data Project at Easter Seals Crossroads in the States. Every state in the US has an organization that manages its assistive tech. And Indiana's is one of the best. They even produce a weekly podcast called Assistive Technology Update. And this QR code will take you to their resource handouts page. I can come back to this later. I think we're kind of covering that, aren't we? So I can move that over. But if you want to take a photo of that, but this will give you the link to where these PDFs are that cover some of the accessibility features. But even with that, as good as the Indata project is, there are some features that just it's so hard to keep up and keeping the literature current. So it's best to go to a new feature that the Apple has included in their accessibility settings. So yeah, we're going to look at the accessibility guide, and it's a new feature that I think you'll find really useful. Let's go to that video. Here we go. So let's have a look at that accessibility guide. If we go into settings, go into accessibility, and then if we go to learn more. So we've got all of our accessibility settings here with the headings vision, physical motor, hearing, speech accessories, and such. But if we go into learn more, then this opens up the accessibility guide, and it is a recent addition to how Apple is sharing information about their accessibility features, and I think it's just really, really useful. So it goes over those main highlights of vision, and see if you want to learn more about the accessibility features, then we can tap on that. And then it breaks them down into the different things that it can do, and so what you might need. So hearing things of what's on the screen, using Braille, using VoiceOver, hearing descriptions of video, and then it gives you information on how to activate that. Going into the settings, turning on the audio descriptions. So, and then it ends up with a whole list of also see also links. So really useful for finding out and discovering the features that are on the accessibility settings. So definitely have a look at that. Right. Sorry if you hear any pounding. Somehow my neighbors decided to do some construction next door, so I hope that's not coming through. The other thing that I'd like to share is finding the resources out there. There's a handy tool in the Shortcuts app called the iPhone and iPad Accessibility Assistant. And so I'll play that video now. There's also a handy tool in the Shortcuts app for finding accessibility solutions. The Shortcut app is called the iPhone and iPad Accessibility Assistant. The Shortcuts app is an Apple app installed on every Apple device, but most people are unaware of it because it's not really critical to use it in everyday use. I could spend about 30 minutes just on Shortcuts apps alone, but we'll focus on one shortcut in particular. Like I said, the iPhone and iPad Accessibility Assistant. So let's look at that now. What you need to do is find and open your Shortcuts app. So the best way I find to find things is just to type it up in the top. So this is called the Shortcuts app. And when you open up this for the first time, you won't have any shortcuts here. But if you go into the gallery, you can search for the app that you're looking for. So it's got some there on accessibility, and certainly have a look at those. There are a variety of shortcut that run the accessibility features, but I'm just going to type in the one I'm looking for, which is the iPhone and iPad Accessibility Assistant. And if I just put in access, should come up. And so there it is right there. And now we're going to add this shortcut, and then we're going to run this shortcut. Now, one of the drawbacks on this is the resources are based on iOS 17. And so it won't have all the newer accessibility features, but it does some pretty cool things. So let's have a look at that. I'm going to add that shortcut. I've already got one. I'm just going to replay. Oh, I'll keep it back. Let's go into our shortcuts now. We've got it right there. And so when you click on any of these, they run a little automation. And so we're going to click on this one, and it's going to run an automation that gives us an accessibility tool. So we click on that. Here's the automation. So it asks you, what category of condition are we talking about here? Are you looking at hearing or mobility? So let's say it's vision. And then what the condition is. What are they? Maybe they're blind. So how does the iPad work with that? And then if you want to add any more, you can. But let's just go with that and say that someone's blind. What accessibility features are available for someone with that? So then it runs the automation, and it goes in, creates a note in your Notes app that goes on those description of the condition you've given, and then it gives ideas, links to that the iPad has to address this need. So someone who was blind would have this to have a look at and see what could be done with audio descriptions. It's got a buddy controller, detection mode, and magnifier, which is kind of neat. So what it does is when you have your magnifier on through your camera and you put it in detection mode and you aim the camera at something, then it verbally calls out what it's seeing in the iPad camera. Yeah, so it's got some links to go with that. And yeah, so it creates a document, sort of a report in your notes that is based on the conditions you've described. It's kind of a neat little tool. Right. So that was a automation in the Shortcuts app, but confusingly, there's also something that Apple has called the accessibility shortcut. And I'm going to show how you would set this up on your iPad. The first thing that I do when I'm setting up an iPad is I like to turn on the accessibility shortcut. I think that's really important. It should be the first thing you do. So I'll show you what that means and what this looks like. So if we go into your settings and then scroll down to accessibility, then scroll all the way down to the bottom to accessibility shortcut. And then we can tick all the things that we may want to use as far as an accessibility feature. So I may want to turn on systematic access, assistive touch, we'll turn on eye tracking. Anything else? Switch control. Okay, so now when we come out of this, if we triple click on either your power button or your home button, it depends what model of iPad you've got. But if you triple click or click 3 times on that button, I'm going to do that now. 1, 2, 3. Then it brings up a menu of all the accessibility features you had ticked. So then you can turn them on and off. So let's say if I want to go to assistive touch, then now that assistive touch button comes up and that accessibility feature has been turned on. If you want to turn it back off, 1, 2, 3, then you just tick it on that, and now that accessibility feature has now been turned off. That can be really important when you get into some of the things that don't navigate with touch, like voiceover or switch control. I'll give you an example. 1, 2, 3. If I turn on switch control now, Okay, so it'll turn on switch control, but the use of it is it makes it harder to use your screen, your touch screen. Now I'm trying to touch some things on there, and it's not letting me necessarily open those things. So I want to turn switch control back off. So again, to turn off switch control now, since I've set up this shortcut, I can go 1, 2, 3, bring up that menu, touch on switch control, and turn switch control off. Okay, so now we'll move on to some of the features. And again, like we can't really go into these too much, but we'll briefly hit on the physical and motor impairments accessibility features. And really, we're going to focus on one in particular. Is going to be switch control. We just talked about it. So we'll go into that video. Switch control is an Apple accessibility feature that enables users with limited mobility to operate the device using one or more adaptive inputs or switches instead of touching the screen directly. This allows for full navigation, interaction, and control of the iPad interface through scanning and selecting. So how it works is the switch control is a scanning mechanism that moves a highlighting cursor across items or groups of items on the screen. When the desired item is highlighted, then the user activates their assigned switch to select it. This selection then brings up a menu of possible actions such as tapping, scrolling, zooming, or accessing device functions like home, Siri, or voice control. There are different kinds of switches that can be used to activate and to connect to the iPad that can act as switches. So one of those switches can be connected to the iPad by a specialized Bluetooth or made for iPad switch interface. This could use adaptive buttons or joysticks or other switch accessories. You can activate the switches via screen taps. So a tap or a long press anywhere on the iPad screen can be assigned as a switch. You can also use the camera to track head movements, moving left or right by the front facing camera. And then those can be used as switches. Some models who have the in-depth camera can track head movements and eye movements to control the cursor directly on the screen. You can also use the back tap. That's done by double tapping or triple tapping the back of the iPad, and that can trigger switch actions. Plus, you can use sounds. So simple voice or unvoiced sounds like a pop or a shh, those can be configured as a switch input. Lastly, you could also use your AirPods head movements like nodding and shaking of the head while wearing the supported AirPods. Those can be assigned as switches. So what I'll do now is I'll just add a switch. We're going to use the screen as a switch for this one. So I'm into switch control right here. I'm going to go into switches. I'm going to add a new switch. Again, these are all those different ways that you can connect, either externally or a screen or camera, sound, or AirPods. I'm going to use the screen. It's a full screen is going to be my switch. So the entire screen is the switch. And then I'm going to, for my tap, I'm going to move to the next one. So there it is. That's what's going to happen. Full screen, move to the next item. But like I said, I also want to use a long press on here to select that item. So select item. There we go. So then let's try that out. It's already in the menu. I'm going to turn on switch control. Tap, tap. Let's select that one. Hold down. Wait till this resets. Hopefully finds what we're looking at. I'll tap anyway to get it kind of moving now. It seems like it's stuck. recognize nothing's there. Here we go. Tap, tap. Let's go back up here. Let's open the weather. Hold down. And that's opening the weather. And then it moves around the different hotspots on the screen. So that can depend on the app where those are. And hopefully you're using an app that has lots of hotspots, so used where you want to select on stuff. Okay. Let's come back out of this. Down, coming back in. There we go. And then now what it's done is turned on the gliding cursor, which can happen sometimes. I'm just going to let that sit. It's going to select. Great. So gliding cursor is another way of selecting things on your screen. It runs automatically. You can speed and slow this down. Let's open up that weather app again using the gliding cursor. So we're going to tap. Oh, I've come off a little bit. I should have got a little more central on. Let's see if I can hit it. Great. And this uses an XY axis. And then tap. It's got it on auto top right now, so I don't have to tap it again. It's already going to select it. Let's go to that weather one, tap at the right time. So it's all about timing, but then it's easy enough. You can slow that down and work on it hitting at the right place at the right time. Yeah, let's see if we can go with that. There we go. Now it looks like it's moved back into its scanning. So it's a bit finicky. It's a bit touchy. But there we go. Let's turn that back off now. 1, 2, 3. And it should bring up the menu for this and allow me to scan down using the screen to scan and select. So can we do that? Okay, here we go. Tapping to move down and then holding down to select. Okay, so I think that's a good demonstration of how these things are a little touchy. And that reminds me to say that, so this is iOS 6.26. It's a pretty new version. It only came out in September, and it seems like they work out the bugs as it goes along, especially with the accessibility features. So keep that in mind that you may want to wait to upgrade unless it's a feature that you've really looked forward to. You may want to wait to upgrade your iOS because usually by the end of the year it gets a lot more stable. The bugs have been worked out, but this is definitely still got bugs. And as I was putting these presentations together, I found a few bugs in some of the other accessibility videos. So let's go to the next one, which is on vision impairments. So we're going to look at voiceover, and there's quite a few accessories that come along with that. There is a Braille reader, I know that's compatible with the iPad, but we will have a look at voiceover, which is a powerful screen reader that reads on-screen content. So it's built into Apple's gesture-based screen reader for iPad, and it provides audible description of on-screen elements. Let's see if I've got that video up. Here we go. There are a number of accessibility features regarding vision and vision impairments. People will find a benefit to. Some of which are VoiceOver, which is a screen reader. The iPads have Zoom and magnifier apps. They have adjustments that you can make to the text size and the display colors, the side of the text, what the text looks like in background, what color the text is. And then it also has some color filters, and it uses inverted colors. So let's have a look at some of these. We'll start with VoiceOver.
Voiceover on. Clock 1:16 p.m.
So really the way
Actions available. Landscape. Charge port to the right. IDG. New to do. Task 2.
So it really lines up everything to make it as if you are using your ears as your eyes. So it's using the audio description to fill in all the blanks that you would ordinarily just see and know. So saying like it's a landscape view, saying where the charging cable is. Um, to move through these, you do a swipe.
Calendar. To event things. Today. Set DG. New last. Symbol like. Clock 1:17 p.m. Calendar. Thursday the 11th of December. Clock 1:17 p.m.
So
Actions available. IDG. New to do. Task 2.
super. Um, what you could do is learn how to use some of these features.
Suggestion.
So if
Settings.
if you double
Double
tap,
tap to open.
you double tap on it. Now we've opened up.
Settings. Search field.
I want to get down
Double
to
tap to edit.
accessibility, so let's go down to that.
Accessibility button. Selected. Apple camera. Apple selected. Accessibility button. Selected. Accessibility. Contain headings. Containers. Voiceover on button.
Okay, so we're going to select that one. We've got
Voiceover on button.
double tap to open.
Selected. Voiceover on button.
I'm going to move a little bit further on, but to give you the idea of the voiceover. But you also see some of the quirks it has and some of the I guess shadows of where it was previously. There's still some bugs in it, definitely. But I wanted to share this next one, which is hover type. It's another one that I sometimes you just discover stuff when you're playing around with these, and I really like this one, so I'm going to play this one now. iOS also has a feature called hover typing, which is designed to improve text input visibility. So hover typing is a floating text window that displays your typing in enlarged high contrast form above the keyboard or in line with the text. It's ideal for anyone who struggles with small input fields or has low vision. So here's how it looks. So yeah, it's pretty handy. Here's how you enable it. So you can go into the accessibility menu and come back out of it. Accessibilities, then go into the keyboards and typing. And then I've already got it on. You can also change the font that it uses, where it's docked. You can put it on the top of the screen in line with what you're typing, or you can change the font size, make it a little bit bigger, and even change the display colors that you're using. So if we go back out. Okay, so I'll move on from that. But no, I thought that was really useful as an accessibility feature. I want to move on. We'll wrap up with our hearing impairments video. So there's many features for that. We're going to look at live captioning as one of the features that Apple has there. iOS also has a whole set of accessibility features for people who have hearing impairments. And those include features like live captions and sound recognition and a whole bunch of settings that work with hearing aids. So let's have a look at live captioning for first. If we go coming back out of this, again, we're in the accessibility menu, going to hearing and then live captions and turning that on. And right, so right now, because I'm doing a screen recording, it's not going to hear that. So I think I need to go into the microphone. Is that it? That's it. And so it starts to transcribe everything that's being said around it. Really useful. Right. So, in conclusion, like I said, we talked about that Apple really has built accessibility in everything every product that they've got, and it really shows in how easy it is to get into the accessibility features, to discover what they are, and then to use them. There are bugs, that hover text I tried to do on hover typing. I tried to do that on my iPad and it wouldn't work. So that's why you saw the phone there. So there are issues at times when you come across, but when it is working, it really quite well. So that is that. This is my email. If you have any questions or you want to email me, please do. I'm happy to stick around now if anyone has any questions.
Dan, you did have a couple of questions from Ben. Do you have access to those, or would you like me to read them?
I haven't seen them yet, but I can stop sharing and maybe in that will.
Oh, that's okay. Let's leave your email up for a second.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Ben says, thank you for a very interesting presentation, Daniel. A couple of questions for the end. First one is, how do the eye and head tracking features compare to the dedicated eye tracking hardware provided by the likes of Tobii?
That's a great question. I would say that it has improved, and it's workable now. I think it is a solution you could use. I'd say it's probably mid-range as far as the eye tracking cameras go. One of the problems that you have is you have to calibrate every time you start. And that's just not what you normally do with a Tobii. You start it up, it saves the calibration. If you've got a good calibration, you keep that. So every time you start it up, you've got to recalibrate, which can be arduous. I got to say, I mean, some kids will not sit through a calibration in the best of times. If you have to do it every time you have to start it up, it's not ideal. But the camera is okay. It has gotten better. I found it usable. So I think it's a great question, Ben. But now understanding that it's always going to be a little bit behind, I think, because the hardware is such quality and keeps advancing and getting better all the time. So it's always going to be catching up with that, unless they put just an incredible camera in there or software. But what is really good though is the head tracking, using the same camera, but that in-depth camera on the iPads. I find that to be very usable. If you've got head control, it to really tracks the face really well and is quite usable. Some like Touch Chat uses it. Vocable uses that as built into their communication apps as a access solution. So I fully recommend the head tracking almost as much as the eye gaze, really more so than the eye gaze.
That's a good point. I think we forget about that, even on the more dedicated systems. Ben had a part 2 of questions, and this is in regard to students taking exams. So are students permitted to use accessibility features in exams, particularly the QCA exams such as GCSEs and A levels? I know we have Maureen online here too, so she may have some input on that as well.
I know there's a working group that's doing this. Maureen, do you want to take that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Yeah, they can. They can use them in GCSE and A-level exams or JCQ exams. They just need to make sure they're formally approved as part of their access arrangements. And so you'd have to speak with the SENCO in the school, make sure they've completed their Form 8 and supplied the necessary evidence. The only thing is that the device would have to be locked down so that the students can't access anything that's unauthorized, like their apps or any notes or the internet. But other than that, yes, they can.
Thank you, Maureen. That's really helpful. Could I just ask a follow-up question?
That's all right with me.
Cost you.
So at one time, the QCA didn't allow internet access at all. And I know a lot of these features do require internet access. So has that rule been changed?
It's not been changed. It's been slightly modified, I guess, because if it's their normal way of working and the school can ensure that the device they're using doesn't have access to anything else, then it's permissible. So there will be some things that they can use, but most options will have a specialized feature that allows them to log into the internet, but just blocks off everything else, if that makes sense. So, for example, if they're using things like read and write, you can use the specific tools within read and write that close down access to any other internet access, but use the internet to work in the first place.
Yeah. But read and write's targeted at schools and has a special setting that you know is safe. And I just want to confirm that, say, a student is using voice to text or text to voice, when I know that works using the internet, that is allowed, because I know there isn't a special exam setting.
No, loads and loads of students use voice to text. As long as the school can show that it's their normal way of working, it will be admissible.
That's incredibly helpful. Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other questions for Dan? Either type or you can turn your mic on. If not, we'll go ahead and conclude. And thank you very much, Dan. I don't know if you want to get back on camera or not, but it was really informative. And thank you for sticking around late to answer some questions as well.
Teresa, someone just put their hand up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
But maybe
I don't see
down
that.
again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead if we have a hand up, or Daniel.
Daniel, yeah. Lawrence, yeah.
You bet, Libby. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, sorry. Just a thank you. That was really useful. Just new to CENMAC, and I'm just really interested in what you shared. So thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm afraid when I saw the list of people coming in with, some are looking at visual impairments or hearing impairments, I don't do as much of that. I got to be honest. I do much more of the switch control sort of stuff, and I'm more familiar with those. But with all of those, I just really encourage you, go through the accessibility guides, go online and look at the tutorials. You'll find out much more by looking at the visuals and finding some guidance there. I think what you can only do, we can only cover so much, but it certainly is a wide range of accessibility solutions. And so to have an investigation, ask and see what's out there. It probably has some way of a solution to it, or it's coming. It's always improving. All right.
Good point. Thank you. Thanks to everybody also for attending, and happy holidays.